Chapter 1. Stop negotiating with yourself. Every time you negotiate with yourself, you lose. You say you'll start tomorrow. You say you'll do it later. You say you'll wait until you feel ready. And every time that voice wins, the one that tells you it's okay to rest when you haven't earned it. The one that makes comfort sound like self-care when it's really self-sabotage. You know that voice well. It's calm, it's reasonable, it's deadly. It's the voice that kills dreams one excuse at a time. You cannot keep living in a debate with your goals. You cannot keep arguing with the version of you that wants more. Every minute you spend deciding whether to act is a minute lost to hesitation. The truth is simple. Winners decide once. Losers keep deciding forever. When you set a standard, stop revisiting it. When you say you'll train, train. When you say you'll write. When you say you'll work. No conversation, no bargaining. You do not need to feel like it. You need to follow through. The more you obey your commitments, the quieter the lazy voice becomes. The more you act without argument, the stronger your discipline grows. Most people fail, not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they never learned how to end the internal debate. They treat every action like a question instead of a command. They wake up and ask, "Do I feel like doing it today?" The answer is always no. That's how mediocrity wins, one soft choice at a time. The first rule of consistency is this: you cannot trust your feelings. Feelings are temporary. Discipline is forever. Feelings will beg you to stay comfortable. Discipline will push you to stay consistent. You must stop asking for permission from your emotions. You must stop waiting to feel motivated. You must decide that the goal gets done, no matter how you feel about it. Imagine your future self watching you today. What would they think if they saw you break your promise again? What would they say if they saw you avoid the work that could change everything? Every decision is a signal. Every moment of hesitation tells your brain that excuses are allowed. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you reinforce weakness. But every time you move without negotiation, you train power. Power is not in motivation. Power is in obedience. Obedience to your highest standards. The great ones act like soldiers for their purpose. They do not wait for the mood to be right. They move because they said they would. They do the hard thing because that's what growth demands. And over time, they become unstoppable because they've trained their mind to stop arguing. You have to see yourself as a leader of one. You. When you give an order, follow it. No debates, no extensions, no delays. You said you would. That's enough. The more you keep your word to yourself, the more your self-respect grows. And when your self-respect grows, your consistency becomes automatic. You stop chasing discipline and start living it. The moment you stop negotiating with yourself, your life accelerates. You move faster, think clearer, waste less energy. You stop being dragged by indecision. You start living with command. You start winning days instead of losing them. The habit of negotiation dies the same way it was born, through repetition. Every time the weak voice whispers, act before it finishes its sentence. Every time your mind starts reasoning, move before it justifies the delay. Action kills hesitation. This is where consistency begins, in the silence between the thought and the excuse. That is your battlefield. That is where you take control back. Decide once. Commit fully. Act immediately. Every time you do, you weaken the part of you that settles and strengthen the part that conquers. No more inner debates. No more waiting for the right time. You have already wasted enough days arguing with your potential. From this moment on, when you say you will do something, it is final. You follow through. You keep the promise. You act as if failure to execute is not an option. You want to know how to force yourself to stay consistent? Stop giving yourself a choice. The second you remove the option to quit, consistency becomes your only path forward. And when that happens, progress becomes inevitable. Chapter 2. Discipline over motivation. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it feels like it. It disappears when you need it most. One day you wake up ready to conquer the world, and the next you cannot even find the strength to get out of bed. If you rely on motivation, you will always live a life of inconsistency. Motivation is the sugar high of success. It gives you a quick rush, but it never lasts. Discipline, on the other hand, is the meal that keeps you strong. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. It does not care how you feel. It only cares that you follow through. Every person who has ever built something great learned one hard truth. Motivation might start the race, but discipline finishes it. The ones who depend on feeling inspired will always fall behind those who move regardless of emotion. Discipline is what keeps you training when nobody is watching. Discipline is what keeps you writing when nobody is reading. Discipline is what keeps you fighting when the crowd has gone home. Motivation fades. Discipline endures. You must stop waiting for the perfect moment to act. There is no perfect moment. There is only this one. The person who moves first wins. The person who waits to feel ready never does. Every time you say, "I will do it when I feel like it," you surrender control of your future to something as unstable as emotion. Every time you say, "I will do it now," you reclaim your power. The difference between the person who dreams and the person who succeeds is that one moves without waiting to feel like it. Motivation depends on mood. Discipline depends on decision. That is why it is so powerful. You can be tired, angry, sad, or uninspired and still show up. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It simply expects you to keep your word. When you learn to move despite your emotions, you become dangerous. You become someone who can create progress out of any circumstance. Think about the times you felt unstoppable. It was not because you were constantly motivated. It was because you were consistent. You did not quit when you did not feel like it. You kept going. That is the secret. The repetition built strength. The routine built resilience. You may not have realized it then, but that was discipline at work. That was the muscle that moves mountains while motivation sleeps. The truth is, discipline is not glamorous. It is not loud. It is not always exciting. It looks like showing up to do the work even when the results are invisible. It looks like choosing water when you want sugar. It looks like turning off your phone when you want distraction. It looks like getting up early when every part of your body says stay in bed. Discipline is made in these small choices that nobody celebrates. Most people never learn this because they have been trained by comfort. They have been taught that they must feel good to do good. But feelings are unreliable. Feelings are weather. Discipline is climate. Feelings come and go. Discipline stays. The moment you decide that feelings no longer control your behavior, you become unstoppable. You must treat your goals like a contract, not a wish. When you make a promise to yourself, it is a signed agreement. You do not renegotiate it because you are tired. You do not push it off because you do not feel ready. You do not rewrite it every time it gets hard. You execute. You deliver. You keep your word. That is what separates the average from the exceptional. If you want to build discipline, start small. You do not need to conquer the world in one day. You need to conquer your next decision. You need to do the thing you said you would do today. That is how discipline is built. One repetition at a time. One promise kept at a time. One hard choice at a time. Do not underestimate the power of the small moments. The person you become is built in the choices nobody sees. When you rely on motivation, you live in cycles of ups and downs. You start projects with fire and abandon them when the fire fades. You set goals, get excited, and then forget them. You promise change and then go back to old habits. Motivation keeps you trapped in a loop of almost. Discipline breaks that loop. Discipline does not care if you are excited. It only cares if you follow through. It is time to rewire how you think about work. Stop chasing feelings. Chase consistency. Stop chasing hype. Chase habit. The ones who succeed are not more motivated. They are more disciplined. They understand that progress does not come from how they feel today. It comes from what they do every day. You may think discipline is hard, but so is living with regret. So is staying stuck. So is explaining to yourself why another year passed and nothing changed. Discipline demands effort, but it gives freedom. It gives pride. It gives proof that you are stronger than your excuses. Every act of discipline is an act of self-respect. When you keep your word to yourself, you tell your mind that you are someone who can be trusted. And when you trust yourself, you no longer need motivation. You act because that is who you are. The great mistake people make is thinking discipline kills joy. It does not. It builds it. Discipline removes chaos. Discipline gives you peace because you know that your actions match your ambitions. It removes guilt because you know you are doing what you said you would. It removes self-doubt because you no longer wonder if you can follow through. You already do. Discipline is the foundation of true confidence. If you want to become consistent, you must love the process more than the reward. You must learn to fall in love with the repetition. You must learn to respect the grind. Discipline is not about intensity. It is about longevity. Anyone can go hard for a week. Very few can stay steady for a year. The difference is not talent. It is not luck. It is daily discipline. Every day you show up is a vote for the person you want to become. Every day you keep going when you want to stop. You are casting a vote for strength. Every time you push through the resistance, you prove to yourself that you are not ruled by feelings. You are ruled by standards. Discipline builds identity, and identity builds destiny. You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable. You have to accept that growth will not always feel good. You have to push through days when you are bored, tired, uninspired, or frustrated. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Because discipline is not a prison. It is freedom from chaos. It is the ability to trust yourself completely. When motivation fades, discipline steps in. When the excitement dies, discipline carries you. When the crowd stops clapping, discipline keeps you moving. When nobody believes, discipline still shows up. That is why it is more powerful than any burst of emotion. You must decide what kind of person you want to be. Do you want to be someone who acts only when it feels good, or someone who acts because it is right? Do you want to live at the mercy of feelings or in the power of control? The answer will determine everything. Start with today. Forget the perfect plan. Forget the mood. Just keep your word. Show up. Do what you said you would. Then do it again tomorrow. Discipline is not built in one massive leap. It is built in 1,000 quiet moments of follow-through. Every time you move, when you do not feel like it, you are training greatness. Every time you act, when comfort calls your name, you are building the foundation of your future. You are proving to yourself that you can be relied upon, that you are not a talker. You are a doer. And one day you will look back and realize that the gap between who you were and who you became was built not by motivation, but by discipline. You will understand that discipline is not punishment. It is power. It is the force that makes consistency possible. Motivation starts you. Discipline keeps you. And the one who stays wins. Chapter 3, The Power of Small Wins. Everyone wants the big breakthrough, the life-changing moment, the transformation that happens overnight. But the truth is, there is no breakthrough without a build-up. There is no transformation without repetition. Greatness is not born from massive leaps. It is built from small, consistent steps taken every single day. The small wins you collect are the bricks that create the foundation of your success. Most people overlook them because they seem insignificant, but that is exactly why they fail. They are chasing the mountain while ignoring the stones that form its peak. The power of small wins lies in momentum. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you create evidence that you can be trusted. Every time you follow through on something small, you strengthen the muscle of consistency. Small wins compound. One small act of discipline becomes 2, 2 become 10. And before you realize it, you are no longer trying to be consistent. You are consistent. It becomes who you are. The mistake most people make is thinking that success happens suddenly. They see the final product and call it luck. They see someone at the top and think it happened fast. But what they do not see are the quiet mornings, the lonely nights, the unseen repetitions, the small wins that nobody noticed, but that changed everything. Every champion was once a beginner who celebrated small progress. Every strong person was once weak, but chose to show up anyway. You must learn to value small progress, because that is where confidence grows. The person who tries to overhaul their life overnight will always burn out. The person who takes small, steady steps every day will outlast everyone. It is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing something every day. When you focus on small wins, you remove the pressure that destroys most people's drive. You stop demanding perfection and start rewarding effort. You stop waiting for a finish line and start building the road toward it. Small wins remind you that growth is happening, even if it is slow. Progress is progress, and every small victory keeps your momentum alive. Think of it like climbing a staircase. Motivation wants to jump to the top in one move. Discipline knows the only way up is one step at a time. Every step counts. Every effort counts. Every day you show up even a little, you are moving higher. The results may not be dramatic at first, but they are real. And the ones who respect small steps always reach the summit. The human mind thrives on progress. It does not matter how small it is. When you complete a small goal, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward. That tiny hit reinforces the behavior and makes you want to keep going. This is how consistency is born, not through massive motivation, but through repeated reward. You train your brain to crave progress, and soon staying consistent is no longer forced. It is desired. Start with what you can control today. It does not have to be huge. Wake up on time. Drink water instead of soda. Read 10 pages instead of scrolling. Go for a short workout instead of none. Write one paragraph instead of waiting for inspiration. These are not random acts. They are seeds. Each small win plants confidence in your mind. Each small victory tells your subconscious, I keep my word. That message repeated daily changes who you are. The small wins also protect you from the lies of perfectionism. Perfectionism tells you that if you cannot do everything, you should do nothing. Discipline tells you that something is always better than nothing. The person who does 1% every day ends the year 37 times better than when they started. That is the math of consistency. The small wins compound faster than you can imagine. When you begin to understand this, your focus shifts. You stop measuring success in dramatic results and start measuring it in daily faithfulness. You stop asking, how far am I? And start asking, did I win today? The person who keeps winning small eventually wins big. The person who keeps stacking days builds unstoppable momentum. You must train your eyes to see small wins as victory, not as weakness. You must celebrate progress, not just perfection. You must understand that showing up on a bad day counts more than crushing it on a good one. The small wins you collect on the hard days are the ones that change your life, because those are the days you prove your strength. Most people fail because they stop when progress feels invisible. They want quick rewards, but life rewards those who stay consistent after the excitement fades. The small wins are invisible at first, but they are not insignificant. They are stacking quietly behind the scenes. And one day, the results explode all at once. Everyone will call it sudden success. You will know it was earned, brick by brick, through 1,000 tiny victories that nobody saw. To live by small wins, you must create systems, not wishes. Motivation sets goals. Discipline builds systems. Systems turn action into habit. When something becomes a habit, it no longer requires decision. You simply do it. That is where true freedom lies. You do not need to rely on willpower. You rely on structure. For example, if your goal is to get fit, make the system small and clear. Set a time each day. Show up even if it is only for 10 minutes. The point is not the size of the action, but the strength of the commitment. Over time, the small routine becomes part of who you are. The person who goes to the gym for 10 minutes every day will outperform the one who goes hard once a week and burns out. The same rule applies to every area of your life. Small, steady deposits create big results. Small acts of focus build mastery. Small acts of courage build confidence. Small acts of patience build wisdom. Success is not a single explosion. It is a collection of sparks, carefully nurtured, until they become a fire that never dies. If you ever feel like you are not making progress, look closer. The small wins are there. They are hidden in your daily effort. They are written in the fact that you did not quit. They are reflected in every time you chose growth over comfort. You must honor that. Because the person who honors small progress is the person who eventually earns massive success. Small wins also keep you humble. They remind you that the process never ends. They teach you to value effort more than ego. They keep you connected to the journey instead of obsessed with the destination. The people who stay consistent are the ones who find joy in the process, not just pride in the results. So stop chasing big leaps. Stop waiting for massive change. Start collecting small victories. Start stacking days. Every day that you keep your promise to yourself is a win. Every day that you take even one step forward is proof that you are becoming the person you said you would be. Success is not built in grand gestures. It is built in small wins repeated relentlessly. Consistency does not demand perfection. It demands presence. The person who is present every day will always outperform the person who shows up only when it feels exciting. Your future is not waiting for one giant decision. It is waiting for 1,000 small ones made consistently. That is the power of small wins. The small win is where belief begins. The small win is where discipline grows. The small win is where transformation starts. Never underestimate the small things. They are not the details. They are the foundation. And the person who masters the small wins masters life. Chapter 4. Mastering Boring Days. Everybody loves the idea of progress until it starts to feel repetitive. At first you are excited. You set new goals. You imagine the results. The energy is high and the motivation feels endless. But then the days start to look the same. The results come slowly. The excitement fades. And that is where most people disappear. Not because they could not do it, but because they could not handle the boredom that comes with discipline. Boring days are the true test of consistency. Anyone can perform when it feels fresh and exciting, but the real champions are built in silence, in repetition, in the days that feel dull and unremarkable. Greatness is not born in moments of adrenaline. It's forged in the quiet repetition of doing the right thing over and over again. Long after the feeling is gone, the world celebrates the moments of triumph, the trophies, the applause, the headlines. But what nobody sees are the hundreds of ordinary days that made those moments possible. The mornings when you did not want to get up but did anyway. The nights when you could have quit but stayed with it. The times you showed up with no visible reward. That is where greatness hides. In boredom, you must learn to embrace the ordinary, to love the repetition, to see the routine not as a prison, but as the path to mastery. The reason so many people fail is because they confuse excitement with progress. They think that if something feels repetitive, it must be meaningless. But mastery is repetition. Excellence is built through boredom. Think about any skill. A musician practices the same scales thousands of times. A boxer throws the same punch every day. A writer types sentence after sentence, rewriting, refining, repeating. The actions are simple, but the results are extraordinary because of consistency. They did not stop when it got dull. They stayed. That is why they grew. Boring days are not a sign that you are stuck. They are a sign that you are building. They are the days when your body, mind, and habits are aligning. When you are teaching yourself that effort does not need to feel exciting to be effective. Most people cannot handle that truth. They are addicted to novelty. They need newness to feel alive. But growth requires stability. It requires repetition. The boring days are where the transformation hides because they teach you something powerful. They teach you that progress is not emotional. It is mechanical. It is about showing up, executing, refining, and repeating. You have to detach your emotions from the process. You cannot demand entertainment from discipline. If you only work when you feel excited, you will never get far. But if you can work when it feels dull, when nothing seems to move, when nobody claps, then you are becoming unstoppable. You are learning the rare art of persistence. You are mastering the ability to stay. You must start to see boring days differently. They are not obstacles. They are opportunities. Every time you show up on a boring day, you strengthen your character. You tell your brain that the mission matters more than the mood. You prove to yourself that you can stay consistent without stimulation. That is power. When you push through boredom, you develop something that motivation can never give you: patience. Patience is strength. It allows you to trust the process even when results are invisible. It allows you to understand that every repetition counts even when it does not feel like it. That every small effort is compounding beneath the surface, building something greater than you can see right now. The truth is, boredom is not the enemy. Distraction is. Boredom just means you're doing something long enough for your brain to crave novelty. But distraction is what destroys your progress. Every time you give in to the urge to escape the repetition, you reset your momentum. You start over again and again, wondering why nothing changes. If you simply stayed with it through the boredom, you would break through. The difference between amateurs and professionals is simple. Amateurs stop when it gets boring. Professionals keep going. The professional knows that boring work is where growth lives. They understand that consistency is not about being inspired every day. It is about mastering your reaction to monotony. It is about turning discipline into instinct. On boring days, your mind will try to trick you. It will whisper that what you are doing does not matter, that you are wasting time, that maybe you should try something new. That is the moment you must stay the most committed. Because right after boredom comes breakthrough. Right after monotony comes mastery. Most people quit one repetition too soon. They never give themselves the chance to see what persistence could have created. You have to train yourself to find meaning in the repetition. Remind yourself that every time you show up, you are not just performing an action. You are building identity. You are telling yourself, this is who I am. I am the one who keeps going. That identity becomes your strength. It becomes your automatic response when the motivation fades. The secret to mastering boring days is to measure effort, not emotion. Ask yourself one question. Did I show up today? If the answer is yes, you won. Even if it felt dull, even if it felt slow. Because the truth is, consistency counts more than intensity. 1 hour of steady focus beats 10 hours of scattered energy. Do not underestimate the power of showing up. You may think that one day does not matter, but it does. Every day you repeat the right habits, you are carving deeper grooves into your identity. You are teaching yourself to act without hesitation. You are building unshakable momentum that no boredom can break. You must learn to fall in love with the quiet progress that happens on uneventful days. There is beauty in repetition. There is power in routine. The best do not need excitement to perform. They have learned to create meaning in the mundane. They know that mastery is simply the reward for patience. So when you wake up and feel like nothing is moving, remind yourself that something is. It is just happening inside you. You are building the kind of discipline that cannot be shaken by boredom, frustration, or fatigue. You are developing a mind that moves by decision, not desire. The boring days are where consistency is tested. They are also where it is proven. If you can stay steady when the excitement is gone, you are already ahead of almost everyone. You are learning to lead yourself when nobody is watching. You are becoming the kind of person who follows through no matter the circumstance. Boring days do not mean failure. They mean you are in the right place. They mean you are putting in the work that most people are unwilling to do. They mean you are on the road to mastery. Keep showing up. Keep repeating. Keep trusting the process. Every dull, repetitive, unglamorous moment is building something powerful within you. The one who learns to master boredom will never lose consistency again. Because once you stop needing excitement to stay committed, you have already won. Chapter 5. Build routines that do not break. Success is not random. It is the direct result of structure. The people who stay consistent do not depend on motivation. They depend on systems. They know that without a plan, emotion takes over. Without structure, distraction wins. The secret to staying consistent is not about doing more. It is about building routines that do not break. Routines that protect your focus. Routines that turn discipline into a lifestyle instead of a fight. Most people fail because they rely on willpower. They wake up and hope they feel strong enough to stay on track. But willpower is like a battery. It drains fast. Structure is what recharges it. When your life is built on routine, You no longer waste energy deciding what to do. You wake up and you already know. You move because it is automatic. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You execute. A strong routine is not a prison. It is freedom. It frees your mind from chaos. It removes the mental clutter of decision fatigue. Every choice you automate gives you more power for the things that truly matter. That is why the most disciplined people appear calm. Their days are already decided. They are not debating between easy and hard. They are following their system. Building a routine begins with clarity. You must know what matters most. You cannot design your day around distractions. You must decide what habits align with the person you want to become. Then you build your schedule around those actions. You do not wait for free time. You create it. You carve out sacred space for your goals. Start simple. You do not need a complicated plan. The strongest routines are the simplest ones. Pick 3 to 5 non-negotiable actions each day. Wake up at a set time. Move your body. Spend time in silence or reflection. Do the most important work first. End your day by reviewing what you accomplished. These small anchors create rhythm, and rhythm creates reliability. The key is consistency, not perfection. You do not have to execute your routine flawlessly every day. You only have to protect it fiercely. If you miss one day, return immediately. Never miss twice. Every time you return, you reinforce identity. You remind yourself that discipline is not about never falling. It is about always returning. Your routine should fit your life, but it should also stretch you. It should challenge your comfort while remaining realistic. A routine that is too easy will not change you. A routine that is too hard will break you. The balance lies in designing something sustainable yet demanding. Something that asks for your best but allows recovery. Every routine must include order, energy, and recovery. Order gives direction. Energy gives drive. Recovery gives renewal. Without order, you drift. Without energy, you burn out. Without recovery, you collapse. The goal is not to do more. The goal is to do what matters consistently. If your routine collapses under pressure, it was built on emotion, not intention. Emotion-based routines depend on excitement. Intention-based routines depend on principle. The difference is stability. Emotion fluctuates. Principle does not. Your routine must be built on principle. You show up because that is your rule. You follow through because that is your standard. You have to treat your routine as sacred. Protect it from distractions. People will not understand why you guard your time so fiercely, but that is because they do not understand purpose. Every interruption is an attack on your consistency. Every distraction is a thief that steals your progress in small pieces. Protect your time like it is treasure, because it is. Your routine must also be measurable. What gets measured gets maintained. Track your habits. Track your effort. Not to judge yourself, but to stay aware. Awareness builds accountability. When you see the pattern, you can adjust. When you see your progress, you stay encouraged. The greatest motivator is visible growth. The structure of your day shapes the structure of your mind. If your mornings are chaotic, your thoughts will be chaotic. If your evenings are wasted, your rest will be weak. Begin and end your days with intention. Start strong, finish strong. Your routine should open and close the day, like bookends holding the story of your life together. One of the most powerful routines is the morning ritual. The first hour of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Do not start it by reacting to the world. Do not reach for your phone. Do not let noise enter your mind before purpose does. Begin your morning by connecting with your mission. Move your body. Feed your mind. Focus your attention. That first hour is not about speed. It is about alignment. Equally important is the evening ritual. The way you close your day affects how you start the next one. Disconnect from noise. Reflect on what you achieved. Learn from your mistakes. Prepare for tomorrow. End your day with peace so you can rest with purpose. Routines are not just about doing. They are about resetting your mind to stay ready for the next challenge. When you live by a routine, you stop wasting time on trivial choices. You stop giving power to laziness. You stop letting emotions decide your productivity. You move with intention. You make progress automatic. Understand that routines are not meant to make life robotic. They are meant to give your goals a rhythm. Every time you repeat your routine, you build trust in yourself. You prove that you are dependable, that you are consistent, that you can rely on you. The more you repeat your routine, the easier it becomes. What once required effort becomes instinct. What once needed motivation becomes automatic. That is the transformation. That is the point where discipline becomes your nature. Do not let boredom break your structure. Repetition is not the enemy. It is the process doing its job. The person who sticks to the system through boredom will always surpass the person who starts over after every distraction. Stability beats intensity every time. If you ever feel like your progress has slowed, do not destroy your routine. Strengthen it. Simplify it. Adjust the parts that drain you. Reinforce the parts that energize you. A strong routine evolves with you. It does not break when life gets difficult. It bends, but it holds. You cannot live a high-performing life without structure. You cannot stay consistent without a system. You must build a framework that keeps you on track when emotions fade. The world will always try to pull you in different directions. Your routine is your anchor. It keeps you grounded when chaos tries to take over. Every time you repeat your routine, you are casting a vote for the person you want to be. Every time you honor your schedule, you are strengthening your identity. And when you live by structure long enough, you no longer fight for consistency. You embody it. Routines are not restrictions. They are tools of freedom. The person who has structure is free to focus, free to create, free to succeed. When you build routines that do not break, you build a life that cannot fall apart under pressure. Stay committed to your system. Protect your rhythm. Live with structure. That is how you force yourself to stay consistent. Because when your routine is unbreakable, your results become inevitable. Chapter 6. Destroy distractions before they destroy you. Every person who fails at consistency does not lose to weakness. They lose to distraction. Distraction is the quiet enemy that steals your time without you noticing. It does not show up as chaos or crisis. It shows up as comfort. It hides inside your phone, inside your habits, inside your excuses. You do not even see it happening, but it is always working against you. Every minute you give to distraction is a minute stolen from your potential. Every time you choose comfort over focus, you delay your progress and weaken your power. You cannot build consistency if you are constantly distracted. Focus is not something you stumble upon. It is something you protect. You cannot allow your attention to be open to every sound, every notification, every impulse. Attention is the currency of your life. What you give it to will grow. What you take it from will die. If you give your attention to distraction, your goals will die quietly while you stay busy with nothing that matters. You must begin to treat distraction like an enemy. You must see it as something that is actively trying to steal your life, because that is exactly what it is doing. Every time you pick up your phone when you should be working, you are feeding the enemy. Every time you scroll to escape boredom, you are training your brain to crave constant stimulation. The more you do it, the harder it becomes to focus. You are teaching your mind to live in fragments. The first step to destroying distraction is awareness. You cannot fight what you do not see. Start observing how you spend your attention. Notice the moments you escape into noise. Notice the tiny choices that break your flow. You will start to see a pattern. It is rarely one big event that ruins your consistency. It is the 100 small interruptions you allow. You must learn to guard your environment. You cannot expect to focus in a world built to steal your focus. You must create a space where attention is protected. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room when you work. Schedule time for deep focus. These may sound like small steps, but they are powerful. Every barrier you build between yourself and distraction is a wall protecting your potential. Your environment shapes your habits more than your willpower does. If your surroundings are full of noise, you will struggle no matter how strong you are. But if your environment supports focus, discipline becomes natural. Simplify your space. Keep only what helps you move forward. Clutter in your environment creates clutter in your mind. The next step is to master your mental environment. Distraction does not always come from outside. It often comes from within. The most dangerous distractions are the thoughts that pull you away from what matters. The doubts, the worries, the overthinking. Every time your mind drifts, you lose presence. You must train your focus like a muscle. When it wanders, bring it back. When it gets tired, hold it steady for a little longer. That is how mental strength grows. You can train your focus through repetition, just like any other skill. Set a timer. Work deeply for a set period without interruption. When your mind urges you to check your phone or open another tab, resist. That single act of resistance builds mental stamina. Over time, the impulse weakens, and your ability to focus strengthens. You begin to feel a new kind of control, quiet, steady power that comes from discipline. Do not underestimate how dangerous small distractions are. One short distraction can cost you 20 minutes of momentum. It breaks the rhythm that productivity depends on. Each time you lose rhythm, you lose speed. Each time you lose speed, you lose belief. And when belief drops, consistency follows. That is why you must protect your focus with the same intensity you protect your most valuable possessions. Learn to say no more often. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something important. Every time you agree to noise, you betray your purpose. You cannot please everyone and still win. You cannot be available to everyone and still build something great. You must learn to say no without guilt. You must choose purpose over popularity. The modern world rewards distraction. It is built to keep you scrolling, consuming, reacting. You must fight against that pull every single day. You must learn to disconnect so you can reconnect with yourself. The more time you spend distracted, the less you know who you are. The more time you spend focused, the more powerful your sense of purpose becomes. Focus is not just about what you do. It is about what you refuse to do. You must decide that your time is sacred. You must decide that your energy is too valuable to waste. Every time you sit down to work, you are making a promise to yourself. That promise must be protected. You cannot allow random impulses to break it. One of the most powerful tools against distraction is presence. When you are fully present in what you are doing, distraction loses its grip. Presence means you are here in this moment, giving everything you have to this task. You are not thinking about the past. You are not worrying about the future. You are not wondering who noticed your progress. You are simply doing the work. That level of presence is rare, but it is where greatness lives. Another key to destroying distraction is energy management. Focus is not possible when you are exhausted. You must take care of your body and mind so that your energy can sustain your goals. Rest is not weakness. It is preparation. Proper sleep, good nutrition, and quiet time all protect your focus. You cannot build consistency on burnout. You need balance. You need recovery. Your focus will always follow your priorities. If you do not know what truly matters, everything will distract you. Write down your top 3 priorities. Keep them in front of you. Every time a new opportunity or distraction appears, ask yourself, does this move me toward my priorities? If not, let it go. The ability to ignore what does not matter is the foundation of mastery. To stay consistent, you must learn to live simply. Simplicity is strength. The fewer decisions you have to make, the fewer distractions you face. Simplify your habits. Simplify your space. Simplify your commitments. Every layer of simplicity gives your focus more room to breathe. You must become ruthless with your time. Ruthless does not mean cold. It means clear. It means you understand that your goals deserve protection. It means you are willing to remove anything that slows your growth, even if it feels comfortable. Consistency cannot survive in a cluttered life. You must create order. Every time you remove a distraction, you take back a piece of your power. You start to see how much energy you were wasting. You start to feel sharper, calmer, more in control. The same hours that used to disappear into nothingness now create results. That is the power of focus. When you destroy distraction, you destroy limitation. You begin to live with intention. You begin to experience progress at a speed you never thought possible. Distraction is the enemy of greatness. Focus is the weapon that defeats it. The world will always try to pull you away. It will always offer you easier paths, quicker pleasures, softer escapes. You must choose the hard path of focus again and again. The reward is control, clarity, and consistency. Protect your attention. Guard your focus. Eliminate every source of noise that pulls you away from who you want to become. Because once you learn to destroy distractions, nothing can stop your progress. Chapter 7, Emotional Control equals Consistency. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel emotion. They are the ones who feel everything, but never let emotion control their actions. Emotional control is the backbone of consistency. Without it, you will always be a slave to your moods. You will show up when you feel good and disappear when you feel bad. You will take action when life feels easy and withdraw when it gets hard. That is why mastering your emotions is the key to mastering yourself. Emotions are not the enemy. They are signals. They tell you what is happening inside you, but they are not commands. You are not supposed to obey every emotion. You are supposed to understand it, manage it, and move forward with purpose. The moment you start acting based on decisions rather than reactions, you take control of your destiny. Most people live in emotional autopilot. They wake up and let the first feeling of the day decide everything. If they feel tired, they skip the gym. If they feel anxious, they avoid responsibility. If they feel unmotivated, they stop working. They let temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. That is the formula for inconsistency. The people who win understand that feelings are temporary, but habits are forever. You must learn to separate emotion from execution. Your actions should not depend on how you feel. They should depend on who you are committed to becoming. You can feel frustrated and still stay focused. You can feel tired and still move forward. You can feel afraid and still take the next step. That is what strength truly is, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to act despite it. The world teaches you to chase comfort. It tells you to avoid stress, avoid pain, avoid anything that feels unpleasant, but comfort weakens the mind. The more you run from discomfort, the more control your emotions have over you. Growth demands friction. Discipline demands discomfort. Every time you push through an emotion instead of obeying it, you grow stronger. You train your mind to lead instead of follow. Emotional control begins with awareness. You cannot control what you do not understand. Start by observing your emotions instead of reacting to them. When you feel angry, pause. When you feel anxious, breathe. When you feel unmotivated, act anyway. The pause is powerful. It gives you space to choose your response. It reminds you that you are not your feelings. You are the observer of them. One of the most effective ways to control emotion is through perspective. Ask yourself simple questions when emotion rises. Will this matter in a week? Will this matter in a year? Am I reacting or responding? Those questions pull you out of the storm and into awareness. The moment you become aware, emotion loses its control. Understand this. Emotions are not problems to eliminate. They are forces to harness. Anger can become focus. Fear can become alertness. Sadness can become empathy. Every emotion carries energy. The key is to redirect it toward your goals. When you feel frustrated, channel it into action. When you feel doubt, channel it into preparation. When you feel anxious, channel it into movement. The energy is already there. You just need to guide it. Consistency dies when emotion wins. Every time you allow emotion to dictate your action, you reinforce weakness. Every time you override emotion with discipline, you reinforce strength. That repetition builds emotional stability. Over time, you stop being controlled by feelings because you stop fearing them. You recognize them for what they are, temporary noise in a focused mind. Do not suppress your emotions. Suppression creates pressure. Expression with awareness creates freedom. Write your emotions down. Talk them out, but never let them decide your direction. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become calm. Calmness is power. It is the ability to think clearly when everyone else panics. It is the ability to move forward when everyone else freezes. There will be days when your emotions try to sabotage your consistency. Days when everything feels heavy, when your mind screams for rest, when your energy disappears. On those days, your job is not to feel better. Your job is to act. Action shifts emotion. Action breaks the loop of overthinking. The moment you move, you start to regain control. Learn to talk to yourself like a leader. When your emotions rise, remind yourself who is in charge. Say, I'm in control. Say, I can feel this, but I will still move. Those simple affirmations reshape your mental wiring. They remind your brain that you are the decision maker, not the emotion. Another powerful way to build emotional control is to manage your environment. Certain people, habits, and situations constantly trigger emotional reactions. You cannot stay calm in chaos. Protect your peace. Limit your exposure to things that drain your energy or provoke negativity. The more calm your surroundings, the easier it becomes to maintain inner calm. You must also manage your body. Physical state affects emotional state. A tired body makes it harder to think clearly. A restless body makes it harder to stay calm. Sleep, nutrition, and movement all influence how stable your emotions feel. You cannot master your mind if your body is neglected. Consistency in physical care builds emotional resilience. Emotional control is a practice, not a personality trait. You will not always get it right. You will react sometimes. You will lose your temper. You will feel defeated. But every time you catch yourself faster than before, you are improving. Every time you regain control quicker, you are strengthening your power. Over time, you will notice that things that once triggered you now barely move you. That is progress. That is evolution. The most successful people in the world all share this one trait. They stay composed under pressure. They do not panic. They do not act out of emotion. They respond with clarity. When everyone else reacts, they remain centered. That calmness gives them the ability to make better decisions. Better decisions create better results. The truth is that emotional control is not about suppression or perfection. It is about leadership of self. You are the leader of your mind. You must guide it with discipline and clarity. You cannot lead yourself if you keep letting emotions steer the wheel. Every time you let a feeling dictate your action, you are surrendering control. Every time you act from principle instead of impulse, you are taking it back. Emotional control does not mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. The storms still come, but you no longer get swept away. You become the calm in the chaos. You become steady when everything else shakes. That steadiness is what keeps you consistent when the world tests you. Remember this truth. Your emotions are valid, but they are not commands. You can feel pain and still move forward. You can feel fear and still take action. You can feel doubt and still keep faith. The power is not in avoiding emotion. The power is in mastering it. Emotional control equals consistency because consistency lives in calmness. The calmer you are, the clearer you think. The clearer you think, the better you act. The better you act, the stronger you become. And that is the cycle of mastery. Master your emotions. Master your actions. Master your life. Chapter 8, The Identity Shift. Consistency is not only about what you do, it is about who you believe you are. You cannot force yourself to stay consistent forever if your identity is still tied to inconsistency. You will always return to what feels familiar. You will always act in alignment with the story you tell yourself. That is why true transformation begins inside. You must stop trying to act like a disciplined person and start becoming one. You must build an identity that matches the habits you want to live by. Your actions follow identity. When you believe you are someone who always struggles, you will find ways to confirm that belief. When you believe you are someone who always finishes, your mind and body will align with that truth. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. You perform at the level of who you believe you are. Every time you make a choice, you are casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. When you follow through, you are voting for the identity of discipline. When you skip, you are voting for the identity of excuses. Every choice matters because repetition creates identity. The person you practice being is the person you become. You cannot become consistent while identifying as inconsistent. You cannot expect to build strength while calling yourself weak. The language you use about yourself is powerful. Every time you say, I am lazy, you reinforce that version of you. Every time you say, I am someone who keeps going, you strengthen a new identity. Your words are blueprints. Your actions are bricks. Together they build who you are. Stop trying to build habits that do not match your identity. You can set goals, make plans, and watch motivational videos all day. But if you secretly believe you are not the type of person who can follow through, you will sabotage yourself every time. The first step to long-term consistency is to rewrite your self-image. Start by defining who you want to be. Be clear. Do not just say, I want to be consistent. Say, I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself. Do not just say, I want to be healthy. Say, I am the kind of person who treats my body with discipline. This shift in language begins to rewire your subconscious mind. The more you repeat it and back it up with action, the stronger the new identity becomes. Identity change is not built overnight. It is built through repetition. Every day you live in alignment with your new standard. The old version of you weakens. Every day you keep a promise. Your brain records proof that you are different now. This proof is powerful. You do not need to convince yourself with affirmations alone. You must show yourself. Action is the most convincing evidence of identity. Think about how identity drives behavior in every part of life. A smoker who tries to quit but still says, I'm trying to quit smoking, is still identifying as a smoker. But someone who says, I do not smoke, has already shifted their identity. They act according to that truth. The same principle applies to everything. If you keep saying, I am trying to be consistent, you will always struggle. Start saying, I am consistent, and then prove it one choice at a time. The old version of you will fight to stay alive. It will whisper that you cannot change. It will remind you of every time you failed before. It will use guilt to pull you back into familiar patterns. You must recognize that voice as a ghost of your past. It has no power unless you feed it. The more you act like your future self, the quieter that old voice becomes. Building a new identity requires evidence. You cannot just imagine who you want to be. You must behave like that person every day. Ask yourself, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Then do that. When faced with a decision, act like your future self has already arrived. This mental rehearsal trains your brain to adopt new habits faster. The key to identity shift is consistency of proof. It is not one big action that changes how you see yourself. It is 1,000 small confirmations. The moment you start living like the person you want to become, your brain begins to align your emotions, habits, and decisions with that identity. You stop forcing consistency and start living it naturally. Most people fail because they focus on changing their behavior instead of their identity. They try to work harder without changing how they see themselves. They rely on willpower instead of belief. But behavior that is not supported by identity always breaks under pressure. You can push yourself for a while, but you will always return to who you think you are. That is why the deepest work is internal. You must take ownership of your story. Stop defining yourself by your past. You are not the person who failed before. You are the person who kept trying. You are the person who learns. You are the person who grows. Let go of the labels that no longer serve you. The longer you cling to them, the heavier your future becomes. Identity is not found. It is built. You build it with choices. You build it with repetition. You build it by refusing to quit when the old patterns try to return. Every day you must decide who you are becoming and prove it through action. There will be days when it feels fake. That is normal. You are not pretending. You are practicing. And with enough practice, the new version becomes real. The more you live in alignment with your new identity, the easier consistency becomes. You no longer wake up asking, will I do the work today? You already know the answer. The person you have become does not skip. The person you have become does not break promises. The person you have become acts with purpose. This is the freedom of identity shift. You no longer chase discipline. You embody it. You no longer force yourself to show up. You simply do because that is who you are. You no longer need to fight your emotions every day because your actions are no longer emotional. They are natural. They are aligned with your truth. True consistency is not about control. It is about congruence. When your identity matches your goals, effort feels lighter. You do not have to push yourself constantly because your behavior flows from belief. You stop fighting to become and start existing as the person you want to be. Every transformation begins with this moment of decision. You can keep being the version of you that talks about change, or you can become the version that lives it. You do not have to wait for permission. You do not have to wait for proof. You create proof by acting now. Decide who you are. Speak it, live it, prove it, every day, until it is no longer something you are becoming. It is something you are. That is the power of identity shift. It is the bridge between effort and ease, between forcing and flowing, between trying and being. When you master it, you no longer chase consistency. You become it. Chapter 9. When you want to quit. There will come a day when everything inside you wants to stop. The effort will feel too heavy. The progress will feel too slow. The purpose will feel too far away. You will look at the path ahead and wonder if it is even worth it. That moment is the crossroad every person meets on the journey to consistency. It is the point where most people turn back. But that is also the exact moment when real growth begins. Quitting does not happen because you are weak. It happens because you are human. The mind naturally resists long-term discomfort. It craves relief. It searches for escape. But every time you quit, you teach your brain that surrender brings peace. And every time you push through, you teach it that persistence brings power. This is why staying when you want to quit is the most important decision you can make. When you feel like quitting, it means you are close to a breakthrough. The struggle always intensifies right before transformation. Your mind is fighting to stay the same while your spirit is fighting to grow. The tension between those two forces is what creates strength. The longer you can stand in that tension, the more powerful you become. You have to remind yourself why you started. Go back to the beginning. Remember the promise you made to yourself. Remember the reason that made you choose this path in the first place. The reason you started was strong enough to light a fire. Do not let temporary exhaustion extinguish it. The strongest people are not the ones who never get tired. They are the ones who remember their reason when their strength fades. The voice that tells you to quit will always sound reasonable. It will say you deserve rest. It will say the results are not worth the pain. It will say nobody cares. But that voice is not truth, it is fear. It is resistance dressed as logic. Its goal is not to protect you. Its goal is to keep you small. You cannot argue with that voice. You can only silence it with action. Action kills doubt. Movement breaks hesitation. The moment you take one small step forward, the voice grows quieter. That is how you fight the urge to quit. You do not need to feel powerful. You just need to move. You just need to do the next thing. One small step is enough to restart momentum. And momentum is what pulls you out of darkness. You must understand that every person you admire has felt the same urge. Every champion has wanted to quit. Every leader has faced days of frustration and emptiness. But they kept moving, not because it was easy, but because they decided that quitting was not an option. They understood that progress is built on endurance, not excitement. When you feel like quitting, do not look at the mountain ahead. Look at the ground beneath you. Look at how far you have already come. You have survived every day that tried to break you. You have kept promises that once felt impossible. You have proven strength before. You can do it again. The path forward is not infinite. It is one more step, then another, then another. Consistency is not tested on the good days. It is tested when every fiber of your being wants to stop. That is when your true self is revealed. The easy days build habits. The hard days build character. If you quit during the hard days, you never get to meet the version of you that was waiting on the other side of pain. When you want to quit, remind yourself that feelings are not facts. The emotion you feel in that moment is not the truth of your journey. It is a temporary wave passing through you. If you can hold steady and let it pass, you will find clarity again. The key is to not make permanent decisions from temporary emotions. Sometimes you will not see progress even when you're doing everything right. That is the most dangerous moment because it makes quitting look logical. You will convince yourself that nothing is working. But progress is not always visible. Sometimes it happens in silence. Sometimes it happens deep inside before it ever shows outside. You cannot see roots growing under the soil, but they are what make the tree strong. Your work is doing the same thing. Remind yourself that pain is a signal of growth, not failure. The discomfort you feel is proof that you are stretching your limits. It means you are in the process of becoming more. Pain is not punishment. It is proof that you are still fighting. Every great story is written in the chapters where the hero wanted to give up, but did not. That is the same story you are writing now. You must stop seeing quitting as relief. Quitting does not relieve pain. It replaces progress with regret. It gives you temporary comfort and lifelong disappointment. When you stay, the pain transforms into pride. When you leave, it becomes a scar that whispers what could have been. Choose the pain that leads to power, not the one that leads to regret. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is finishing what you start. Even small completions build mental strength. Finish your workout. Finish your project. Finish your day with integrity. Each time you complete what you begin, you teach yourself that you are reliable. That trust in yourself is the foundation of consistency. You will have days when your energy is low, when nothing goes right, when everything inside you says stop. On those days, lower the intensity but not the standard. You can slow down, but you cannot stop. Progress does not always mean moving fast. Sometimes progress means refusing to turn around. There will be people who do not understand your persistence. They will tell you to relax, to stop being so hard on yourself, to take it easy. But they do not understand your vision. They do not know the promise you made to yourself. You are not obsessed. You are committed. You are not being hard on yourself. You are being loyal to your potential. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to rest, rest. But never quit. Never give up on the person you are becoming. The day you choose to keep going despite the pain is the day you separate yourself from everyone who gave up too early. Every great transformation comes down to one decision: to continue when it is easier to stop, to believe when evidence says doubt, to act when your heart says quit. That single choice is what defines winners from almost winners. When the urge to quit comes, breathe. Remember your purpose. Remember your promise. Then take the next step. And then another, and another. You will not feel powerful at first, but you will feel alive. You will feel proud. You will feel unstoppable. Because the truth is simple. You are not tired of the work. You are tired of not seeing the result. But results always come to those who stay. The ones who hold the line. The ones who do not give up when the world tells them to stop. Do not quit. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. You have come too far to stop now. Keep walking. Keep fighting. Keep believing. The version of you that refuses to quit is the one that wins in the end. Chapter 10. The Unstoppable Mindset. The final stage of consistency is not just about action. It is about identity, belief, and unshakable mindset. When you reach this level, consistency is no longer something you try to maintain. It becomes who you are. You stop fighting to stay disciplined because discipline becomes your natural state. This is what separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. The unstoppable mindset begins with one core truth: there is no finish line. You are not chasing a single goal. You are building a way of life. Most people burn out because they treat consistency like a sprint. They go hard for a short period, expecting instant transformation. But the unstoppable person understands that growth is endless. There is no arrival. There is only evolution. You do not train for a season. You train for life. This mindset removes the pressure of perfection. You no longer panic when you fall short because you know the journey never ends. Missing one day does not define you. What defines you is that you return again and again. The unstoppable mindset does not fear failure. It expects it. It understands that setbacks are part of the process, not the end of it. To develop this mindset, You must stop thinking like a struggler and start thinking like a master. The struggler sees every obstacle as a reason to stop. The master sees every obstacle as a reason to grow. The struggler reacts emotionally. The master responds strategically. The struggler seeks comfort. The master seeks challenge. This shift in thinking is what creates an unstoppable life. The first step toward an unstoppable mindset is absolute ownership. You must take full responsibility for your results. No excuses, no blame. No waiting for perfect conditions. The moment you take ownership of everything in your life, you take power over everything in your life. As long as you blame others, you remain powerless. Ownership is freedom because it gives you control. The unstoppable person does not waste energy on what they cannot control. They focus entirely on what they can do next. They do not dwell on the past or worry about the future. They live in constant motion, adjusting, adapting, learning. Life throws problems at everyone. The difference is in the response. The unstoppable person refuses to be defined by circumstances. They are defined by their response to them. Belief is the foundation of this mindset. You cannot be unstoppable if you secretly doubt yourself. Belief does not mean you feel confident every day. It means you act with conviction even when you feel uncertain. True belief is quiet. It does not need to shout. It simply keeps moving forward when everything else stops. To build unshakable belief, you must collect evidence. Every time you keep a promise, every time you follow through, every time you overcome resistance, you add proof that you can trust yourself. That proof becomes armor. It protects you against doubt and fear. You do not need motivation when you have evidence. You know who you are because you have lived it. The unstoppable mindset also requires detachment from outcome. You must fall in love with the process, not the result. Results will come and go. Some goals will take longer. Some dreams will change shape. But the process, the daily discipline, the self-mastery, the relentless pursuit is eternal. When you love the process, you never lose. Because even when you fail, you grow. Even when you stumble, you learn. Another key to being unstoppable is emotional resilience. You cannot control how life treats you, but you can control how you respond. The world will test your patience, your energy, and your faith. People will doubt you. Situations will disappoint you. But nothing outside you can defeat you unless you surrender your power. The unstoppable person feels everything, pain, doubt, fear, but they never let emotion make the decision. They move forward anyway. To become unstoppable, you must also learn to adapt. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Flexibility bends and survives. Do not confuse consistency with stubbornness. You must be consistent in your effort, not in your method. If something is not working, adjust. Do not quit, do not freeze. Adapt. Growth demands evolution. The mindset that carried you this far will need to change again for the next level. You must live with purpose. Without purpose, consistency feels heavy. With purpose, consistency feels sacred. Purpose gives meaning to the struggle. It reminds you why the sacrifice is worth it. When you are driven by a strong enough reason, you can endure any pain. Find a purpose that ignites you. Something greater than comfort, greater than approval, greater than fear. That purpose will keep you grounded when the world tries to shake you. The unstoppable person also understands the power of patience. They do not rush the process. They trust it. They know that everything great takes time. They are not chasing quick results because they are building a legacy. They know that small progress compounds. They know that slow growth is still growth. Patience is not passive. It is strength under control. There will always be moments of doubt, exhaustion, and confusion. The difference between those who stop and those who rise lies in response. When the weak feel doubt, they retreat. When the strong feel doubt, they lean in. They use it as a reminder that they are pushing beyond comfort. Doubt is not a sign to stop. It is a sign you are expanding. The unstoppable mindset thrives on challenge. It sees difficulty as opportunity. Every hard moment becomes training. Every obstacle becomes fuel. You cannot build strength without resistance. You cannot build resilience without struggle. The unstoppable person does not run from pressure. They rise inside it. To stay unstoppable, you must also protect your energy. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Rest is not a reward. It is responsibility. Recovery is part of consistency. You cannot perform at your best if you are constantly drained. The goal is not endless hustle. The goal is endless growth. That requires balance, reflection, and renewal. Gratitude is another part of an unstoppable mindset. It keeps your perspective sharp. When you are grateful, even challenges become gifts. Gratitude transforms pressure into purpose. It reminds you that every day of discipline is a blessing, not a burden. You get to improve. You get to build. You get to grow. The unstoppable person is not fueled by anger or desperation. They are fueled by appreciation and purpose. The final secret of the unstoppable mindset is faith. Faith is not blind hope. It is trust in the unseen effort. It is the belief that every small action matters, even when it does not show immediate results. It is knowing that the seeds you plant today will bloom in time. Faith is what keeps you consistent when logic says stop. The unstoppable mindset is not built in a single moment. It is built every day through the choices you make, through the promises you keep, through the storms you survive. Each day you wake up and choose progress over comfort, you are proving that you are unstoppable. One day, you will look back and realize that the person who once struggled to stay consistent became the person who could not stop growing. You will realize that all the pain, discipline, and sacrifice shaped you into someone powerful, focused, and fearless. This is the goal of consistency. Not perfection, not applause, but transformation. To become the kind of person who does not need to force discipline anymore because it flows naturally from within. The person who no longer doubts, no longer delays, no longer breaks. The person who is unstoppable. So keep going, keep showing up, keep choosing purpose over comfort, belief over doubt, action over excuses. Every day you live with this mindset, you move closer to your highest potential. You become living proof that consistency is not a trait, it is a choice. And once you choose it fully, nothing in this world can stop you.